fourth generation nuclear reactor, a very upcoming topic. Let's first understand how nuclear reactors evolved, and then we'll talk about the fourth generation, the latest of these. Now, the first generation was during 1950s and 60s. Shippingport, Dresden and Magnox are some example, and these were called as early prototype reactors, and they were also called as proof of concept. So this was just a concept, and building these reactors was trying to bring in a proof of the concept that was in the mind. Now there were various designs that were brought forward. The most important aspect of these designs was to understand what is a good idea to actually have it. The second is the generation 2. Now here we started with commercial reactors, low reactors, pressurized reactors, CANDU, VVER are some of the examples. During 70s to 90s, generation 2 was there, and the life for the generation 2 is cited for 40 years. Generation 3, it is nearly 60 years of lifespan. So again, with development from the proof of concept, the early prototypes, we move to the commercial power reactors, which has a good life of nearly 40 years. But again, it actually talked about the canadium, deuterium, uranium reactors or the boiling water reactors. So the boiling water reactors are one such examples, but these were actually not that efficient, not that powerful, but they were pursuant with the 10 CFR 50, which was as per the guidelines of NRC. Now talking about the next was generation 3. Here the advanced reactors came into existence, and these reactors were basically the EPR, AP600, System 80 plus and ABWR, which is the advanced boiling water reactors. From 1990s till 2010, generation 3 came in, and this was based on the 10 CFR 52. So this was on 10 CFR 50, and the generation 3 was on 52. Again, this generation 3 has a lifespan, as I mentioned, for 60 years. So definitely a better version of generation 2. Generation 3 improved with economic consideration, so it offered improvements even in safety guidelines, and it was under the certification of NRCs from 1990s that generation 3 was brought into existence. So this was generation 3 and generation 3 plus, which is called as near term deployment from 2010 to 2030. Now talking about the generation 4. Generation 4 is considered as highly economical, more safe, which has minimum wastage, is resistant to any kind of proliferation, and this actually has advanced actinide management. What is actinide? Actinide series runs after uranium, so it is numbers from 89 to 103 on periodic table, and they have actually a property of having relatively higher shelf life, higher half lives, right? It's not the shelf life. Okay, so this is why we say actinide management is one of the classic things that generation 4 has. Now within generation 4, what kind of reactors are there? We'll discuss that in a while, but the idea is high temperature water gas liquid metal cooled reactors which have more advanced cooling systems. We have wave reactors that convert a fertile material to fissile material. Also talking about the Hyperion power modules, which are really important, and they work with uranium nitrides. So there are 6 variants which have been proposed under generation 4. The first is sodium cooled fast reactor system. Now this consists of a fast neutron and a closed fuel system. So fast neutron and a cooled fuel system has 2 important things. It's first of all a medium sized structure which has a metal alloy. The second is very high temperature reactor system. As the name suggests, it has a very high temperature. So there is a concept of thermal neutron, and once through a uranium cycle is what is considered under very high temperature reactor, right? Here the concept is nearly 600 megawatt of graphite. The next is supercritical water cooled reactor system. Now supercritical water has a temperature of greater than 342 degrees Celsius, very important, very high temperature, very high pressure, and then cooled actively. The next is lead cooled fast reactor system. As the name suggests, it has lead or bismuth, right? Since it has lead or bismuth, it is actually a liquid metal in a fast neutron spectrum. However, this has been so far applied with submarines, the alpha class submarines. Again, this was stopped back in 1995. So this is again not, we are not very sure what kind of module would it work with. The gas cooled fast reactor system, it was proposed that by 2025 we would have a version that would come for a gas cooled fast reactor system. However, it has not been into light as of now, but it has helium cooled reactors for it. And then the last one is molten salt reactor system. Now this is again a thermal neutron spectrum with a closed fuel system. Uranium dissolved in sodium fluoride. So uranium being dissolved in sodium fluoride is an example for the molten salt reactor system, and this is circulated through the graphite channels. So these are 6 of the versions that are proposed for the generation 4. The most important thing for the generation 4, as I mentioned before, is it would be highly economical, would have better safety measures with minimum waste, and would be resistant to any kind of proliferation. Now these are some of the important things that we understand as we talk about the various generations of nuclear reactors. Really important topic for your upcoming prelims this time. So stay tuned for many such interesting topics and concepts for prelims and mains. Thanks for joining in today.